talk a little bit about Rafael Devers in that situation?
Sure.
You were a Red Sox 2021. You played for Alex Cora and with Rafi. Has this whole I appreciate him being candid, but has this whole thing kind of surprised you a little bit? It feels like it came out a little bit out of nowhere. Neither one of these guys, or at least Rafi, hasn't had a reputation of saying stuff like he is, or coming and saying it with his chest. So, did this surprise you a little bit?
I would say a little bit, maybe a little less so after I was there in spring training this year, and I felt that the vibes were off a little bit with Rafi. Um, this is only the second year of Breslow with the Red Sox, and I think that's kind of where this rift really has started. When they signed Rafi, if you go back in time, when they signed Rafi to his long contract, he was disgruntled at that time because they had not signed Xander, they had traded away Mookie. Basically, all of the core players from the 2018 team that won the World Series were kind of gone. I think Rafi was kind of like, is this really a place I want to be? Are we going in the right direction? And, from all reports, there was a lot of promises made to Rafi during that negotiation, including playing third base for a while. Now, at the time, Craig Breslow was not the GM. It was Chaim Bloom. So this year in spring training, I did think it was a little weird that initially they talked about moving Bregman to second when they signed him and keeping Rafi at third. Alex Cora seemed to have a lot of nice things to say about the way that Devers played defense last year and that he was improving. And then that all kind of switched on a dime, and where they basically said, don't bring your glove anymore, you're going to DH. So I understand a little bit that he was like, hey, what about this conversation we had 2 years ago? But to his credit, he kind of got over that. He embraced the DH role. I think Big Papi talked to him, kind of smoothed it over a little bit, and he started having a nice year this year after he got out of the gate slow. He's been playing really well lately. And then I think this situation was interesting as well. Alex actually kind of said from his point of view, he wasn't going to ask Rafi to play first base once Costas got hurt. And then we find out 24 hours later that there was a discussion with Breslow, and it seems like Devers' main issue is the communication with Breslow. So maybe there's something off in that relationship. But yeah, I mean, it's been a little awkward to begin with this season, and then I think this is just another chapter in it. I'll be curious to see how this one actually plays out in a couple weeks.
It's definitely interesting, and I think I played with Breslow. At least I was in the clubhouse with him for a whole year when I was rehabbing Tommy John when he was on the Twins in 2017. And for someone to butt heads with him doesn't make sense to me. Just because he's such a easy to talk to person and very thoughtful, and but it comes down to when you're a GM and you want to look at your team, you want to look around and be like, okay, I want to be able to move some pieces, and I don't want to be stuck having to work around something that could be done better. And I understand that point of view, but I also understand, like, hey guys, I put my glove away. Like, don't do it to me again. Like, I already made the adjustment. Don't ask me to. Being the highest paid or he was the highest paid guy on the team, at least year to year. But that guy is not the guy you move around the field. But his defense has not been really even league average. So it's weird. I agree with both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I think two more things to add to this. I think number one, like having watched the interview in Spanish and having spoke a little Spanish, I don't think the translator did a perfect job. I think we've seen this last year with Jorge Lopez with the Mets, where it wasn't quite as bad as what it came out as. I think he said, it's a tough transition, and right away it's not going to look good. So it kind of got translated as it's not easy for me to make the switch, and that's why I don't want to do it. But I think he was kind of saying, like, if I'm open to it, it's not going to be great to just like do it right away. So that's number one. And then number two, with the Breslow part, and this is something that I think about a lot, like if I were to be in that type of position, it's not so much that you're not easy to talk to, it's that you're the one now who has to have the tough conversations, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's only year 2 of this, and that's like a skill that definitely needs to be worked on. I think you can attest to as a player when you're talking to management, how direct, how honest they are, but also their level of compassion and the way that they seem to actually care about your career definitely comes into play when there's nuance involved like this. So I don't know. It's just like it's a new relationship. They probably hadn't had as much interaction as they probably should have leading up to this type of event. And then, you kind of end up in the mess you're in.
Absolutely. I've seen some media float some possible solutions to the situation. So here's what I'm proposing to you, and I want to see which one of these you think is more likely. Or maybe they're not. Either one of them can be actually both happen, but we'll see. Do you think he actually plays any first base at all, or do you think it's a commitment to DH? Or, as thrown out by my buddy Chris Rose and a lot of other people, what about a possible trade situation? Do you think a trade would even be on the table, just in terms of, he's playing third base, somebody else, he's a left-handed stick. I mean, everyone could use. I feel like corner pop is one of the most valuable thing right now. I think they could bring in crazy number of prospects. I don't even know if anyone could afford that, frankly. But do you think that's even in the realm of possibility?
I don't think it'll happen right now. I think the team is competing. That's a big bat to lose. He's there to hit at the end of the day. Like, his defensive numbers, if we're being fair, they haven't been kind to him. Even last year when they talked about there being some improvement, he's definitely one of the lower ranking third basemen defensively in baseball. And I think that would be a roadblock a little bit in the trade too. Like, he's getting paid an awful lot of money. He is really more suited to DH at this point. And as Ron Washington said in Moneyball, how hard is playing first base? It's incredibly hard. And I think I think sometimes we underrate the difficulty of it. I do think there's a chance he plays a little first base. I mean, Rafi's a team player. He is. I know that it doesn't seem like it right now because he's a little disgruntled, but he is a team player. I think ultimately he is all about winning. And so I could see him, saying, you know what, all right, I'll strap it on. I'll go do my best over there, and hopefully we can work and get better. But again, like, it's only been a few days. This is still a fresh wound, and I'm curious to see how they rebound. The trade idea, I think, man, like, you're just talking about reconstructing your whole lineup. You'd have to get a lot back. It would have to be like a large contract for a large contract in my mind. So I'm not sure, where you're going to find that equal value,
Yeah. Well, that's a media thing. It's interesting, right? Will it happen? Probably not. That would be too interesting to see. Well, Otto, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, man. Thank you for your insight. We appreciate you, and can't wait to have you on again.
All right. Thanks, T.
All right.
Have good.
That was Adam Ottavino joining the show for the first time, and probably not the last, just so you guys know. That's if he is down. Rafael Devers, as we talked about, met recently with owner John Henry to discuss his disillusionment a little bit with the organization's suggestion that he switch positions once again. As Otto just mentioned, and as I fully agree, I feel like committing one time to moving yourself out of a position you played in to do something else should be enough, especially when you're the guy, the $300 million man. You're not the guy usually. You're like, you sign that contract, you're like, okay, I thought I was done with this. And I understand that frustration. It's early in the process. Otto also made a great point that the tone coming through an interpreter is hard to convey sometimes. And we had that soundbite from spring training when they're like, hey, Rafi, will you DH? And he just goes, no. Like, he just said it in English and then laughed. He gave that was the energy in which everything else he is saying in Spanish is being assumed he's taking now. And I think that's a little bit what's happening as well. I think just people are in a little bit of a tough spot, but I think overall it's going to end up being okay. And he has been raking as a DH. It's one of those things that once you get good at DHing, if they ain't broke, don't fix it, especially if you have other options. They got lots of prospects. First base, there might be other guys with skill sets lined up to fill that gap. He's currently on a $10-year, $313.5 million contract. Tell him what he's doing and let him stick to it. I agree with that. But in other news, he's raking again. So since he started with the 16 Ks and 28 bats or whatever he did at the beginning of the year, he has absolutely torn the cover off the ball. So old Rafi is back in other news. He is